plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, April 14th, and welcome to episode 170 of Buds and Blue Jays. I'm Jesse Burrell, joined as always by Riley McConnell. And Riley, the Blue Jays welcomed in the Colorado Rockies, took care of business, winning 2 out of 3 against the lowly Colorado Rockies, just as we predicted at the end of our last episode. And I want to start today's show by making a bold proclamation about the Toronto Blue Jays this season. I think today is the day that we went back to 500, and from this day forward, we will not go below 500 for the rest of the season. How do you feel like that for a take to get the show started today?
I really like the take. As you know, Jesse, we have the New York Yankees rolling into the Rogers Center tomorrow. So for that to be true, we got to start the series off really well and win that first game against a very good New York Yankees ball club. I think we can do it. Listen, I think that this is kind of not a turning point in the year. It's too early to call anything a turning point, but this is a really good time to rack up wins. As you see, the division around us still looks very good. I think actually Baltimore might have struggled heavily against the Brewers. I don't know if that game's still going on or not. Doesn't matter. We're worried about our ball club, our team, and we handled the Rockies well. Like you said, we called it baseball's weird. We get slaughtered in game 1. And then 2 strong showings in games 2 and 3. Feeling pretty good, Jesse. Like you said, back to a 500 record.
Absolutely. And boy, did a lot of storylines come out for the Toronto Blue Jays in this series. And today on the episode, we'll get to all of them, including Daulton Varsho heating up. The power stroke is back and then is not in the lineup in game 3. We will touch on that. We had a big league debut of Yariel Rodriguez. And spoiler alert, I think we both liked what we saw from the young Cuban right-hander there. And then we've got so much more. Kevin Gausman got lit up again. Justin Turner is a hit machine. And then some notes on some guys on the farm coming up and see how they produce and so much more. But first, like the video, please subscribe to the channel, share a friend, and anywhere you can find your podcast, you can find the Buds and Blue Jays. Stay with us all season long. Riley, let's get into the game recaps. You ready?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right. Game 1, as mentioned, the Blue Jays lost this game 12-4 to the Colorado Rockies. The Blue Jays took the lead early and then gave it up as Kevin Gausman struggled mightily in this one. The Rockies had 20 hits, and 8 of their 9 players in their starting lineups had multi-hit days. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Daulton Varsho both went deep in the loss. Kevin Kiermaier and Kevin Biggio also had multi-hit days in this one, but this was never really close. Game 2, the Jays needed a bounce back, and they got it here. They win 5-3, and they got started with a bang. The Jays were able to load the bases in the first. Davis Schneider worked a bases-loaded walk to get the game's first run. And on the very next pitch, Daulton Varsho took it to the right field fence for a grand slam, the Blue Jays' first of the season. And Yariel Rodriguez made his major league debut, struck out 6, walked 2, and pitched into the 4th. Bowden Francis gave up 2 runs in relief, but the Jays relievers after that shut the door, went 9 up, 9 down with 6 strikeouts to end the game. The Blue Jays were back in the win column. In the rubber match, game 3, the game that just finished up about an hour ago here, the Jays win this game 5-0. The Blue Jays scored a run in the first thanks to Justin Turner. They'd add 2 more in the third, another in the fourth, and Jose Barrios put together what might have been his best start yet. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, and the bullpen shut the door. Alejandro Kirk reached base 4 times, and Ernie Clement had 2 hits as well. After the series, Riley, as mentioned, we are back to 500. We're 8-8. We're still last in the AL East, but we're just a game behind both Tampa and Boston, and the Yankees are 12-4, I believe, are a little bit ahead of us. So lots of talking points to get into this series here, Riley. And let's start with the Daulton Varsho one. Take it away from what you saw from Varsho this series.
Well, Jesse, we saw something that we haven't seen Daulton Varsho do yet this season, and that is go yard. Not only did he do it once, he did it twice and really got things going in game 2 with that grand slam. It's really good to see. I was very, very optimistic coming out of spring training that Daulton Varsho would either be a better power hitter than he was last year, or number 2, raise his average at least to the kind of 250 mark. And we haven't really seen him do much up until this point in the year. Daulton Varsho is a very streaky hitter, it seems. And it seems like a different guy that we got from the Diamondbacks that hit 27 home runs. It's really good this early in the year. He has a strong series like that. It's not too often we give our first thumbs up to a player and then them not be in the lineup for the finale.
Yeah.
Jesse, let's give the thumbs up to Daulton Varsho for sure. But let's kind of talk about this for a second, because you and I are on the exact same page. There's a lefty in Tyler Freeman on the bump for the Colorado Rockies.
Kyle Freeland, but yes.
Kyle Freeland, see, tells you how much I know. Kyle Freeland on the bump for the Colorado Rockies, and a lefty. We have 8 hitters in the lineup. 1 through 8 are right-handed bats. And our number 9 hitter is our center fielder. And that today was Kevin Kiermaier. And Kevin Kiermaier hasn't done anything versus let alone a right-hander. He has not hit a lefty worth anything. And the strikeout rate is atrocious. You should have at least had Varsho in the game playing center field, batting 9th in the finale of this series. I mean,
Bingo,
just play the hot sticks. 2 home runs in the series already. Varsho needed to be in the lineup. I'll say this: we won the ball game 5-0. The runs came early for us in game 3, so it didn't matter. But still, you gotta kind of think that Varsho maybe should have, could have been there. We talked about this with Davis Schneider being out of the lineup after his hot-ish start, I should say. Varsho should have been there game 3. He gets a thumbs up for games 1 and 2. Still very much talking, socializing, getting Bo Bichette pumped up on the bench today in the dugout, who Bo needs a little bit of a pump up or a kick in the butt or something to get going, because his campaign hasn't started off good. But our first thumbs up here, definitely to Daulton Varsho. Congrats, home runs number 1 and 2. First grand slam of the year as well.
Yeah, and from what Daulton Varsho has been doing from a production standpoint this year, he's been really hammering that 4-seam fastball so far. He has a run value of over 3. He's slugging .917 off the 4-seam fastball. And Kyle Freeland's 4-seam fastball, not that good. Daulton Varsho easily could have been in there and gotten to that. I understand the move from John Schneider not to put him in, but you said at the top there, Daulton Varsho is a streaky hitter. And the thing with having these streaky hitters, if they are hot, they can single-handedly carry your team. So if the guy is hot and you're going to put in a left-handed hitter anyway, Varsho needs to be the move over Kevin Kiermaier at this point. I am very annoyed at this one, and I really do think John Schneider should probably take some heat for this one.
Well, and he won't get any repercussions because we won the ball.
Of course not.
That's just how it goes, Jesse. If it was Rocky season, not smooth sailing, you might have to answer some questions. But this isn't one of those situations. We're playing the Rockies. We got Kiermaier in there for game 3. I don't have how he hit in front of me, and who's to say that Varsho would?
But yeah,
sure. Who's to say Varsho wouldn't have had an 0-for-4 day? We'll never know.
Right. That's the thing. Exactly right. And look, the thing that drives me nuts about this is that this is something you can control. Baseball is a game full of randomness and weird stuff happens all the time. But your lineup decisions and who you put where, you can control that. And that's the thing where I feel like the Blue Jays aren't doing things optimally. And that's where things really get iffy there. But we'll see. This is twice now John Schneider's done it. I'm sure he's going to do it again. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it when that happens. But if you and I were in that manager seat, Riley, this is how we would be running things for the Toronto Blue Jays here. Let's move on to another topic and something else that caught our attention this series. And Riley, we had a big league debut for what was our biggest free agent, I guess, that we signed this offseason. And all it took was 6 2/3 innings in Buffalo of shutout baseball for him to get the call. And that was Yariel Rodriguez. So I want to say first, welcome to the big leagues, kid. Boy, did he sure look impressive. I have his line here. It was 3 1/3, I believe, innings pitched. Just gonna find it here. Yeah, 3 2/3 maybe it was. But he looked good. He struck out 6. He did walk 2 guys. He did give up a home run at one point in this thing, but I thought the spin rates on the slider were insane. I really thought he did a decent job of limiting hard contact. I left this outing thoroughly impressed, Riley. And before we get into what we think is next from Yariel Rodriguez, how'd you think he looked making his big league debut there?
It was very interesting to listen to how they were calling it on the television. He was really only going to the well for that slider. It was sort of a 2-pitch mix for 90% of the outing, but it worked. I mean, Colorado's I don't know what the deal is with the Rockies. I think they get shelled in their own ballpark, probably because they don't have the best of hitters. I mean, look, you got a washed up National League MVP winner. I love Charlie Blackmon. His prime is well behind him. And then a mixed bag. Their center fielder, that Doyle kid's pretty good. But he's playing against it's a different type of lineup. There's a lot of veterans and there's a lot of young, inexperienced players as well. Rodriguez, Y-Rod, as we'll probably refer to him now, but I'm saying Y-Rod, as WHY,
Okay.
just to be different. And then I want to
Sure,
kind of name
buddy.
Julio Rodriguez Julio who WHO. So we got a who rod and a Y rod. I don't
Love
know
that.
where I don't know
Me-
where Rod is, but anyways, I thought it was too bad, Jesse, that he didn't qualify. He didn't get the quality start because he's on kind of a
Right.
pitch limit. I think
78
that's
pitches in this one.
I think that's unfortunate. He got a great taste of big league pitching, and I think it
Mhm.
was the right time to do it against that Rockies team. I think 6 strikeouts is tremendous.
Mhm.
I thought his stuff looked great. His velocity's great. Like he looks like a big league pitcher. Now here's the kicker, Jesse, is this isn't a guy who's coming up from double A New Hampshire. This guy has pitched in other professional leagues. So
Yep.
he kind of has the upper hand for a rookie, having rookie status, if you want to call him that. He's no spring chicken by any means, but he's still young enough and he can develop. I mean, we gave him that extension, and Jesse, so far so good. I really like what I can see. I don't know what we'll see as far as how deep he can go into ball games, especially with what our bullpen looks right this second after this series. And we move on to the next one. Hopefully the bullpen gets a little bit better. Might help Rodriguez's case out a little bit more. But he looked really good in game 2. I can't wait to watch more of him.
Yeah, neither can I. And I think the Blue Jays, look, they have a set plan in place for what they're going to do with Yariel Rodriguez the rest of the season. But then I think they thought, well, why waste his innings down in Buffalo when he's clearly shown he can get big leagues pitchers out? Now, I will say Colorado's lineup, especially on the road, isn't that impressive, but that's quite the way that you want to break a guy in, right? Get in there, get your nerves out of the way, and then he can come back. I believe against the Padres would be his next start, assuming things stay in line. My question is, do you want to throw in all of his limits innings now, or are you going to fluctuate him between the rotation and the bullpen? Because if the Blue Jays do have an innings limit on Yariel Rodriguez and he is this effective of a pitcher, don't you want to save those innings a little bit as the season goes on? Like, I don't really want to see him in 2 inning stints. I want to see him get stretched out a little bit. I want to see him potentially, if he's cruising, be able to go 6 innings, you know? So what is the plan going forward here, Riley? How are we gonna manage this?
Well, I think that with seeing Bowden Francis come out of the bullpen, the first guy out in his start, made me question, like, okay, this is what we're seeing in game 2 in a tight ball game. Could we see something like this happen in reverse, where perhaps Bowden Francis goes 4 and a third, and then we see Yariel Rodriguez pitch 2 innings after that? I don't know. I can't see them starting Yariel Rodriguez every 5th game. I just have a feeling that we're going to see him kind of adapt into different roles. We still don't know. No one knows what we're going to get with this kid just yet, but
Right, true.
to have him at this play in his first big league game, to start that game, to do what he did in just under 4 innings, it's a good start. We don't want to waste his pitches, of course. But how many starts do you want to do, and what kind of high leverage situations or low leverage situations do you want him to pitch out of the bullpen? Because if he can, if we decide, hey, well, let's use him out of the pen, and we go, oh wow, like Temeza hasn't been very good. Like maybe Trevor Richards goes down with something. Maybe Garcia kind of goes on a cold streak where he's given up runs in every appearance for about 5 appearances. And then you look at Rodriguez and you go, hey, it's a 3-2 game in the 8th inning. Like go out there and get
the strikeouts, right?
Get the hold. Like go out there and keep these hitters at bay. I could see that happening with Yariel Rodriguez too. I have no expectations. I like to go into this one with an open mind, because it's not like we're getting a starting pitcher from another ball club or a for sure relief pitcher. Like this guy is kind of up to, the situation for his destiny and his trajectory, his path to be decided.
So I think what's likely going to happen here is when Alek Manoah is ready, they'll probably piggyback, right? Alek Manoah will get the bump to start. Yariel Rodriguez comes out in the end. But I do like what you say. If he's just dominant out of the pen, maybe the Jays just keep him in the back end of that bullpen all season, kind of like what we did with, I think it was Aaron Sanchez in the 2015 season, where he was groomed to be a starter, but he was so good out of the pen, the Blue Jays chose to leave it there. I think it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. We'll keep tabs on that going forward. Another player who really caught our attention, Riley, and this is a shocking one, is what in the world is going on with Kevin Gausman here? Because his line, 3 2/3 innings pitched, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, didn't walk anyone, 4 strikeouts on 78 pitches. All 3 of his pitches, the fastball, the slider, and the splitter, all got crushed in this one. He threw more sliders, which is statistically his worst pitch, but when you're looking for something, you got to try anything. To me personally, I think there might be a pitch tipping issue. It's weird how the Rockies really crushed everything. It's almost like they knew it was always coming. The movement profile looks fine. The location is iffy, but Gausman's always been the type of guy who just throws his fastball right down the pipe and makes the splitter play. His ERA on the season, I think, is over 11 now. Yeah, 11.57. Man, this is not the guy we were hoping to get this year. On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are we about Kevin Gausman?
Well, since this is the second start in a row, I'm going to throw this one at a 6.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then the next start, if he goes out there, I'll elevate it to an 8. If he goes out there and gives me seven innings of 5-6 hit ball, then I'm not worried anymore. But if this is a persistent thing, if this continues to happen, then Jesse, are we cursed in a sense? Our starting pitchers have this weird trend. Is Gausman all of a sudden an MVP or a Cy Young finalist and then falls off the wagon like an Alek Manoah?
The Jays have a lot of those.
2 different times in their 2 different stages in their careers. I understand that, but Kevin Gausman, I mean, he did not look good. And yeah, tipping pitches perhaps, because there was a ball, I forget which left-handed bat it was, Jesse. You can interject and input it, or it doesn't really matter. But he ripped a splitter, probably 4 inches low out of the zone for extra bases into right field. And I just thought, man, you're supposed to just spit on that pitch or swing over the top. Taking it for extra bases, wow, it's frustrating, especially at that point in the game, because he had already been hit around. And it's not like he was getting a ton of swings and misses either. They were fouling him off. They were drawing out the at bats. They were, he didn't walk any hitters, so he was in and around the zone. I think that was the problem. I think that the 10 hits spotted to him is because he was throwing pitches in the zone, and they took a lot of them in for extra bases as well, man. Colorado was in that 12-run game, that 12-4 game. I don't know how many extra base hits they had out of the 20, but I know it was a lot, and a lot of them were charged to Mr. Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, that's the thing with Gausman too. He talked post-game about he's got to throw the fastball more because everything plays off that fastball. Like the splitter is only good as a deception if the hitter thinks a fastball is coming. So let's watch for that in his next stop. We asked our fans on Twitter what they thought and what their concern levels were Kevin Gausman. And we had a wide variety of answers here. First person said on a scale of 1 to 10, they're about a 27. So they are very out on Kevin Gausman. Someone else just said he's just toast, pure toast. So that's the more of the negative sides for Kevin Gausman. And then we had 2. We had 1 because the Blue Jays offense sucks. No matter how much he pitched, it didn't matter, which I guess, okay, but you still want to see Kevin Gausman pitch well. And then another one, which kind of echoes what Jesse said in their chat here, is Kevin Gausman's maybe still hurt. Remember, he dealt with shoulder fatigue in the spring. He wasn't amped up and ready to go. He got into, I think it was the last spring training game of the year. Maybe he is dealing with some shoulder fatigue or something like that here as well. And maybe that could be explaining what's happening with Kevin Gausman, but I don't know. We will see. It's puzzling for sure.
I don't know what the numbers are, Jesse. But I'm sure that this is the worst start to his career. Even going back, I'm sure even back in Baltimore, he didn't get lit up like this. Because I know he's always been kind of an innings eating type of guy, but he has not thrown a ton of innings either. In the 11 plus earned run average does not look good. Obviously, Jesse, those numbers will change throughout the year as the season goes on. But let's hope sooner rather than later, because if there's still if it's still a plus 80 RA 2 months into the year, then we got a problem. We have a serious problem with Kevin Gausman, whether it's a sharp decline, whether it's injury, Like, and it sucks. Like, hey, I don't want to throw this guy on the injured list. Like, we have a solid rotation, one of the best in Major League Baseball. After seeing what our next guy will talk about, Jose Barrios is a solid
and I wanted to get
starter.
into him. So let's get into Barrios now.
Okay, well, then we'll get into that. Gausman needs to basically sharpen up because he's the fourth best starter on this team right now.
Agreed. So let's get into Jose Barrios, because you want to talk about a pitcher struggling. Barrios looks fantastic to begin the year. His start against Colorado today, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 walks, did hit 2 batters, but also struck out 7 as well. That is now 15 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings for Jose Barrios. He has never had a stretch like that in his whole entire Major League career. He looks fantastic. And the big thing, Riley, he's been dipping the 4-seam fastball. He's been throwing the slurve and the sinker more. His 2 best pitches. Didn't we say all last year, if Jose Barrios just throws his better pitches more, he'll be a better pitcher? And look exactly what is happening. I have full confidence in Jose Barrios right now, and he looks so good. He's definitely an SP1 as of now, correct?
Oh, yes. I was the first person aboard the Jose Barrios train, and I didn't lose a ton of faith in him even after his awful campaign. He's done fantastic to start this year. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this, Jesse. I mean, it was a dominating performance. I know that the Rockies are not murderer's row as far as their lineup goes, but the amount of swings and misses he got from Colorado hitters makes you feel very, very good. And the swings and misses are one thing. And then when they do put the ball in play, the amount of soft contact hit into the infield, it's super nice to see. We have a great defensive team, and I think it plays perfect into Jose Barrios's kind of pitching repertoire and what he can do on the mound. It was a great game. Our offense did what they had to do, and Barrios gave us, you can't ask more than 7 innings. I would have liked to see him in the game longer, but at that point,
100 pitches.
I was already at 100 pitches. I knew. At the basically 2 outs into that inning, I thought, I'd love to see him out for the 8th. Probably not going to happen. I'm fine with it, though. Great outing by Jose Barrios. Probably, Jesse, the best start for a Blue Jays pitcher this year, I will say.
Without a doubt. Yeah. I do want to mention, though, 8 hard hits allowed, and his expected ERA is over 4.5, right in line with what he did in his career. But we'll throw those numbers out for now. We're going to go with the eye test on this one here. Riley, have a fun game because we have a lot more players to get to, and we're running short on time here. And this one is just a fun little, it's called What Do We Make of This Stat? Where I'm just going to read a stat, and you're going to react to it. Sound simple?
Whoa. Oh, too early. Yeah, let's go.
Yes. Premature, Riley. You're too excited. All right, the first one. The Toronto Blue Jays are 1-8 when Davis Schneider does not start a game, and we are 7-0 when Davis Schneider does start the game. What do we make of that stat?
Wow, Jesse. Sometimes we look into stats that do not matter. This stat clearly matters in a sense. Davis Schneider should be in this Blue Jays lineup. I don't know how I feel about him being in left field, but I'm going to be honest, Jesse. It's one of the least important positions defensively on the field, and we're in an era now in baseball where 1 through 9 hit. And Davis Schneider has to be there. I don't care if it's second base or left field. Put this guy in the lineup. He's proven he's an everyday player. I mean, last year with his whole Babe Ruth kind of esque start to his career. I mean, Teresa, you're absolutely right. It's his mustache power. I don't care where he plays in the field. Get him in one of the spots in the batting order. I would like to see him hit 5th or 6th on an everyday basis, to be honest with you.
0 for 4, 2 strikeouts today, but you can't deny the effort that Davis Schneider puts out there when he's trying. And if he's got Varsho or Kiermaier in center behind him, it's going to make his defensive numbers look better. So I agree. But how about this next stat, Riley? What do we make of this one? Kevin Kiermaier still has yet to barrel a baseball this year. What do we make of that?
I'm actually not surprised. And there are players. I think there's if you really get into the depth of baseball, I think there's a player by the name of David Fletcher who's still, and Nick Madrigal is another guy who are still successful baseball players, or where I think Fletcher's on the decline, who have maybe barreled 3 baseballs in their career and still make it in the big leagues because they're able to loop a couple hits in. Kiermaier, though, he doesn't have the plate vision that those guys do. He doesn't actually get the bat on ball. And it's kind of a, then you can talk about a guy like Chris Davis with a K for the Oakland A's, like the swing and miss, tons of strikeouts. But he'll hit for it's 4 years in a row. That's hilarious. But Kiermaier isn't gonna pop 28 home runs off on you, and you're not gonna go, oh well, what about the batting average? Kiermaier's never been a hitter for average. Kiermaier's never been a power hitter. He is strictly there for his defense. And Jesse, how important is defense? I mean, Kiermaier proves that it's very important, but part of me is like, it's kind of like one of those memes where it's like, hey, I want Kevin Kiermaier. And then mom goes, we have Kevin Kiermaier at home. And it's a picture of Daulton Varsho. That's kind of how I feel, We need the bats. We need to have an offense that kind of supports itself, where we have those bottom guys turn the lineup over back to the big boys.
Remember when Kevin Kiermaier said this spring he wanted to hit for power and then hit 4 home runs this spring, and we all thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be a wild time. Boy, were we ever fooled on that one. And my last stat here I want to bring up, Alejandro Kirk has the second most starts in the big leagues behind the plate, and the Toronto Blue Jays are the only team, well, besides the Yankees, so I guess they're one of 2 teams, without an extra base hit from their catcher spot this season. What do we make of that stat?
All I'm going to say is I can't wait till Danny Jansen comes off the IL, Jesse. That's all I'll say.
That's all I think we got to say on that. Me too. And then just some other things of notes that caught my attention this series. Back-to-back games for Daulton Varsho with a home run. We mentioned that. Kevin Biggio is quietly on an 8-game hitting streak, so you love to see that. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., although he went 1 for 4 today, hit 3 baseballs, 106 miles per hour or harder. So it's what Vladdy does. He rocks them hard, and he rocks them into the ground. Justin Turner had a great day today. He went 3 for 4, I believe it was. He had 3 more RBIs. He's 8 for 10 off lefties this season, which is fantastic. And also, he tried to steal a base today for Justin Turner, so good for him. And one more note, Ernie Clement he was 0 for his last 11 before he did get a couple hits in game 3 today. Pitchers are throwing him a lot more off-speed pitches, and then he proceeded to get picked off third base. So do you have a quick thought on any of those things I mentioned there, Riley?
Let's talk about the base running for a second. I hated when I'll say base running error I dislike and base running error I like that can't happen with Ernie Clement. We were ahead at that point. I get it. We got to play a little conservative at third base. I think that was the second out of that inning with runners on second and third. He was a dead duck. Justin Turner's I thought was very interesting, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I love the ambush tactic. He trying to get something going. He's going to be on base again. He's probably not going to try and attempt to steal on the first pitch like that in that situation. Also, it was off a lefty.
Yes, it was.
I know that it wasn't the fast. I was watching myself. I don't usually do this with right-handers, watching the game. But a lot of the times when I'm watching the game, if there's a runner on base, I try and time up a left-hander's delivery and stride to the plate. And I thought he wasn't tremendously quick, Freeman. I thought he wasn't tremendously quick to home. So the fact that Turner decided to take off and he wasn't out by that much, he made a great slide. Hey, it's baseball.
A good throw got him. Yep.
A great throw got him. It was a great attempt. I love that. Just stick to the hits because Justin Turner has been our most consistent batter. I'll say this, Jesse, I'll go down with the ship too. We didn't think Justin Turner had this in him. 39 years old. He is having a hell of an April, dude. Wow. Great start to his
statistically
season.
Our best hitter, and it's not even really close for Justin Turner. Speaking of statistics, we've got another game I want to play here. It's called Which Number is Higher? And we don't have to dive too deep on this. I'm just going to say 2 things, and you're going to tell me which number do you think is higher. You ready to play?
Let's go.
All right. Which number is greater? The number of Toronto Blue Jays who have an ERA under 3 or who have an ERA over 10? Which number is greater?
Oh, it's got to be over 10.
Okay, now this was coming into the game today, so whatever pitcher stats happened today, I did not count those, with a minimum of just 1 inning pitch, so if that changes anything.
Well, I had Wes Parsons actually on that list as well. Okay, yes, so I'm with Teresio. I'm going over 10.
The actual answer is under 3. The Blue Jays have 8 pitchers: Barrios, Kikuchi, Richards, Jimmy Garcia, Nate Pearson, Chad Green, Yariel Rodriguez, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who pitched 1 scoreless inning.
That is BS. That does not count.
It is. So we can say it's 9. And then the number of Jays who have an ERA over 10, Wes Parsons, Kevin Gausman, Genesis Cabrera, who probably lowered it with the scoreless inning today, Tim Meza, and Bowden Francis all had ERAs over 10. And then my last one, Riley, which number is higher? The number of Blue Jays that are currently hitting over 300 or under the Mendoza line, under 200? Which number is higher?
Got to be under the Mendoza line. Got to be under
it
the
is?
Mendoza
And do you
line.
want to take a guess on how many Blue Jays are hitting under 200?
Well, let's name them. So Alejandro, so both our catchers, Serv and Kirk.
Kirk and Servin are 2 of them. Yep.
We are first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yep, he's one of them.
No one on second. I want to say Bo Bichette going into today's game was hitting under 200.
Not quite. He might be after the game today, but
okay.
he was not.
Right around that mark. Again, he needs to pick it up a little bit. And then, but yeah, okay. I named a few. And if I can't think of the rest, I think our outfielders are doing okay. It's certainly not George Springer, and I'm not sure about Varsho. Kiermaier, though, is definitely hitting below. It could even be he could be even below 150.
Kiermaier is one of them. Yep.
Yeah.
Kiermaier is one of them. Varsho was just under. I think he was hitting 197 coming into the game today. And then Daniel Vogelbach. He's been drawing his walks, but his batting average has suffered, so he's under
that's
there.
What screws,
the 3 Blue Jays. The 3 Blue Jays that are over 300. Justin Turner, Kevin Biggio, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa are all the Blue Jays that are under 300. In terms of runners in scoring position, which is something I've been tracking all season, Game 1, the Jays went 1 for 6. Game 2, we went 1 for 7. And Game 3, it turned around a little bit, 5 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Riley, over 30 minutes into the show, and we've still got a little bit of stuff to get to. Let's touch on the bullpen here. Paulo Espino came in, got lit up. He's down in AAA. Mitch White came in, gave up a bunch of runs. He's still in our bullpen, but didn't look good. Chad Green, Jimmy Garcia looked fantastic. They were dynamite in Game 2, some of the best I've ever seen from them. Tim Meza had a much-needed scoreless inning. We needed that, but his velocity and stuff is still down. I'm still a little worried about Tim Meza. Genesis Cabrera and Nate Pearson both looked quite solid in the game today. In fact, Nate Pearson threw a fastball at 102.3, which is, John Schneider said he's the best he's ever looked in a long time for Nate Pearson. So out of those relievers, got a takeaway, got a thought?
Nate Pearson threw that ball into the other batter's box. I just want to throw an asterisk on that. That's not. Hey, I know you like Nate Pearson. I was watching the same game as you, man. That was. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I was like, man, like he couldn't have even like just missed. Like it was an absolute. But whatever. His stuff is nasty. I think our bullpen is going to be just fine. I know that there is some guys with some horrendous ERAs, but Yimi Garcia, man, is so good. I mean, if Swanson or Romano falter when they come back, I am perfectly fine letting him take the highest leverage of situations. Honestly, I know that Romano kind of has this closer role attached, but it's the same thing when we talk about got to play the hitters that are good. Like if Garcia is our best pitcher out of the bullpen, where do you put that pitcher? You don't pitch him in the 7th inning in a 4-run lead. You pitch him in the 9th inning in a save situation. That's it could very well happen that way. I hope not. I hope Romano and Swanson are both sharp, but I think that Garcia, he might even overtake Eric Swanson for the 8th inning role because he's been that good and that proven to start this year.
I'm almost ready to say let Jimmy Garcia just stay in the closer's role until Jordan Romano can prove that he's back and ready to go. I don't think they're going to go that route, but it's something I want to keep in line. And of those injured guys, Jordan Romano has been dealing with some command issues in his rehab starts, but rehab starts, do with them what you will. It's most important about how he feels anyway. Eric Swanson's velocity is down too. It looks like he's put on some weight, but it's been a tough start to the season for Eric Swanson, including if you talk about what happened to him and his son in spring training. So we'll cut him some slack, but it'd be nice to see some better things from Eric Swanson. My question is, who's off the roster once they're ready to go, right? Because your really options are, do you send Gausman or Meza to the IL? Do you decide to call it quits on Trevor Richards or Mitch White? Do you send down Bowden Francis? But the Blue Jays kind of need some length out of their position right now. Does Yariel Rodriguez go back down? What's the move when these guys are ready to come back?
I think as much as I don't really like Trevor Richards, I think he should still hang around. I think we DFA Mitch White, in all honesty. I really don't see it progressing. I know, Jesse, that you're an innings guy and you're kind of looking at it over the next 148 games, where those innings going to be placed. I think that Nate Pearson can go multiple innings if he develops some more basically as the year goes on, work on his pitch count. Garcia, we've seen him go multiple. And I think Rodriguez is a guy who also, if needed, we've seen him in his first start go almost 4 innings, and out of the pen, anything more than 3 innings is almost barbaric baseball times. You don't see relief pitchers do that unless they're coming in a mop-up role type situation. We'll find our innings somehow, but I've really had it with Mitch White. I don't think he needs to be there. And that's me wanting to keep Trevor Richards. And I'm really not a Trevor Richards fan, but I think he holds more value than a guy like Mitch White right now.
Yeah, it's the problem is like with Gausman being so ineffective, with Yariel Rodriguez not being stretched out, with Bowden Francis getting lit up every time he goes to the mound, like the Jays need something, and it's going to be a mystery. I think we do get an IL trip somewhere. I think he's right. Tim Mesa maybe makes a trip to the IL. Maybe we just put Kevin Gausman on one of those I have neck stiffness issues we've seen the Blue Jays do with some pitchers a few times, one of those phantom IL trips. Maybe we do that with Kevin Gausman as well. And the Blue Jays will find a way to get these relievers onto the active roster as they always do. And to quote Jurassic Park, life finds a way. So I'm sure it will with these bullpen things as well. Riley, with that being said, the Blue Jays got one more team. The New York Yankees, as mentioned at the top of the episode, are coming into our barn. The Blue Jays are 500. I already proclaimed they're going to win game 1 of this series here. So how do you think we do? The Yankees are on top of the division. We know the team. We've played them in their barn. Now we welcome them to our barn. How are we going to do in this series against the New York Yankees?
Jesse, I'm in the buy or sell world. I'm going to buy what you're saying and say that this is a good time to stay above 500 for the rest of the year. I'll buy into that. So that being said, win, loss, and win, or a win, win, and a loss. Either way, we got to take this series. We got to win 2 out of 3 for this to happen. I'm on board with it. I don't know which game is going to be a loss going into the Rockies series. We said it last time. We're going to win 2 out of 3. Well, we did. We didn't know which game we were going to lose. We won convincingly, 20 hits against. Let's not have that against the New York Yankees. I want to keep their very good hitters at bay. And matching up against our pitching, I hope our starters are solid. And again, man, I hope that our bullpen can figure it out. And God, we need Danny Jansen to come back and be healthy and a good hitter, man, because Kirk has not cut it. I tweeted it out. And going into today's game had an OPS plus of 1, which I thought was hilarious. Like, I don't know how to do the equations for the advanced metric stats like that. Yeah, Tricio, screw the Yankees is right. We need to take the series, man. We need to start making a push for this on the ticker there. Yeah, the Yankees 12-3.
They're 12-4 now. They just lost to Cleveland, but yeah.
Awesome. Good for the Guardians. The Naylor. Speaking of, we're a Canadian show. The Naylor boys had home runs in the same inning. That's pretty cool too. But we need to beat the Yankees at home. That's step 1 for a very long season ahead.
I agree. Let's hit the ground running. Let's roll. Let's run through April. Let's have a good season, and we can bet your bottom dollar we will be back to record and have all the reactions and takes coming out of this Yankee series. In fact, I might go to the Dome tomorrow. So if you're at the Dome tomorrow, come say hey. Let's have a beer. Let's chill at the flight deck together. Let's have a good time. Anything else to add, Riley, before we get out of here?
No, enjoy that beer. I didn't even know you were going to the game tomorrow. Did you just decide that halfway through this episode?
Yeah, I got nothing going on. I don't have to work tomorrow. I might make my way.
What a guy.
See what happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Burrell. This is, and poor me having to work Monday to Friday like a slave.
Yeah, tough life.
I make out all right. But Jesse, good for you. I hope you enjoy yourself. Me learning about this for the first time. This will be game number 2 for you of the season. I don't go until later next month. So I gotta get up and around on getting to some of these ball games because Jesse, they've been pretty damn good so far. And I saw a lot of empty seats against the Rockies on that Friday night game. It was very disappointing.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure I'm loud. I'm vocal. The boys need us. So if you see me there, come have a drink. We'll cheers. We'll talk baseball. And who doesn't love that? For Riley McConnell, I'm Jesse Burrell. We will be back next week. Thanks for sticking with us. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and anywhere you can find your podcast. You can find Buds and Blue Jays. Leave a comment, 5-star review, all that good stuff. And until next time, let's go Toronto Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.